Red Cup Talk with Brian Adams. Let's get into it. No, we're not getting into it. Just hit that like button and subscribe to my channel so you can be up to date with content as I drop it. Let's continue to grow this channel together. How are you guys and gals doing? Just want to come on here and show you some love and, get us in the algorithm. Algorithm? Yeah, algorithm and everything. I got a new light, so I just want to check it out, just chime it out too, and see how it's going. It's a little bright, but it's serving its purpose. I just needed a bigger one because the last one I had, it was pretty good, but I still got it too. But it's always good to have a backup. So that's what I got going on. I didn't want to do much. I say much. I actually am in my what am I calling this? We're calling this my back cave, my day room, my night room, my playroom. No, it's not my playroom really. It's just a relaxing room. Yeah. But anyway, just wanted to come on here. Did you see Luther Vandross special? Did you see the Luther Vandross special? I will say this. Luther Vandross had a very colorful life. Looking at that documentary, I did see the documentary tonight after I logged off from work. Because I wanted to get my commentary in and get it in while it was still fresh and on people's mind. And I'm sure some people probably still haven't seen it yet. So if you haven't and you're a Luther Vandross fan, or if you haven't and you weren't a Luther Vandross fan, check it out because it really was a good documentary. Jamie Foxx and that team over there did a really good job with it, putting it together. Most of the stuff on there I'm pretty familiar with. I wanted to say this though. It did bring back memories. It brought back a lot of memories because looking at some of those look at the footages and the hairstyles and the style of that time. I had an aunt, my Aunt Betty. She really, rest in peace, Aunt Betty. She really loved Luther Vandross. She was a big Luther Vandross fan. Her and my other aunt, I could remember. My mom playing Luther Vandross a lot too. I don't know. She wasn't as the biggest fan as my aunt was, but I know she used to have her fair share of Luther, and a few others. I mean, at that time when Vandross was alive, he was really the bee's knees of his time. I mean, he really was. He was a singer, a songwriter, a producer. He was all of it, and the fact that he stood out because he came in during a time where the style was a little bit different at that time. They weren't really called. It wasn't really spotlighted on balladeers and singles R&B singles at that time. So he really made his mark. And I do want to say that I was a little sad because listening to some of those old songs, I thought about, like I said, memories of my Aunt Betty and my mom. They're both deceased, but they both liked Luther very much. Everybody liked Luther at that time. I just can't explain it. I don't know what it was. I know his sexuality was questioned and brought up. It was questioned from the BET Awards all the way to out down on the table. But they still loved Luther Vandross. Your sexuality really don't have anything to do with it. It's just only mere entertainment for what it is. If you're a really true and good artist, your art would overshine all of that. At least I feel like that. I believe that. And I do want to give a little small experience I had. I went to see the Essence Festival one year in New Orleans. I want to say it was in maybe 2009 or 10. I can't remember. It was a while back. It was back in that time though. And Luther Vandross was alive. He was supposed to perform at that Essence Festival. The lineup, I'm gonna tell you how far back it was. D'Angelo and Angie Stone had their child. And Angie Stone, they just had the child. And Angie Stone had the baby, I think it was a boy, had the baby boy in the audience. And at the one point, they kind of gave her the spotlight, D'Angelo performed. He did a wild performance. I remember that. Very good, but very wild too. Um, and I think the comedian was Coco Brown, who was emceeing that show, that Essence show that night. And if it wasn't Coco Brown, I'm sorry, but I think it was her. But I remember her saying something. Whoever the MC was, I remember her saying something like along the means of um, Luther not being able to be here tonight. He had to go to the hospital. And before you go to work Monday morning and send all those emails, gossiping about him, and stuff like that, give him his space. Give him his space so that he can get himself together. Don't do that. And I remember them speaking highly of Luther Vandross at that time as well. And I was a teenager, for Christ's sake. I was an older teenager, but I was a teenager. But I do remember that. And the show went on. It was a good show. Brian McKnight was supposed to perform. He didn't perform that night. I'm giving you some inside stuff here, but you probably never heard before. But Brian McKnight had got locked up that night because it was domestic violence. They said that him and his wife allegedly had fought, and I guess the police had got involved, so he couldn't make that show that night. But the show went on. Mary J. Blige was there. She performed in all white. I remember that. I can't remember all the other acts, but I remember Mary J. Blige. I remember D'Angelo. Yeah, and that was a good Essence Festival too. All of the Essence Festival, from my understanding, is very good. But I do remember that. And I looking at this documentary tonight, like I said, listening to those songs and seeing the hairstyles and the way they carried themselves, all of that made me think of like my aunt and uncles when they were in their prime, when they were in my right now, and how they were just, oh gosh, the Bodyguard soundtrack was hot at that time. Whitney Houston was big then. I think even Michael Jackson was popping still. Yes, he was. He was still big, and Prince. They was a thing. Tina Turner. They were all the thing of that time. And Patti LaBelle, yeah, Patti LaBelle, Aretha Franklin. I remember all of them at that time. So to see that documentary, it was, like I said, it kind of, not just for the sake of Luther, but just, like I said, bringing back memories. Bringing back memories. I can remember being at home and my mom playing Luther Vandross. I'm like, oh gosh, okay, that's enough Luther. And then when Aunt Betty came to town, she played Luther. I was like, great day. It wasn't a DMV thing, because Aunt Betty lived in New Orleans. It was Luther Vandross touched everybody all over the place. And after Luther passed, Aunt Betty continued to like Luther, but I remember she had moved on to Will Downing. And I didn't understand that either until looking at the document tonight. Aunt Betty liked tall guys, I guess. And Luther Vandross was tall. I didn't realize he was that tall. I know he was heavy set, but I always thought he was just like short, heavy set, But looking at it from tonight, the angles of night and everything, he was a tall guy. I didn't realize that. He's tall like Will Downing is. So I could see how Aunt Betty could, like, I see she had a style. She had a how you say when they say yeah, she had a yeah, she had a style of men that she liked, performers, and to hear Luther Vandross' mom speak, on him, and the fact that he did so much work with the Wiz. I didn't know he did work on the Wiz. He did a score on the Wiz as well. The Wiz, not the Wizard of Oz, but the Wiz with Michael Jackson, Diana Ross, and all that. He did a score with the Wiz. Like I said, there's a lot of things. I'm not going to reveal all of it because I could go on for hours and hours. But if you get a chance to get the opportunity, check it out. It really was a good documentary, and you can watch it with others. Oh, also, he was on the Sesame Street too. He aired him and his singing group they were on the first episode that aired in 1969. I remember that because it was 10 years before I was my year I was born. So that stood out. I'm a numbers man, so I can remember numbers very, very easily when it's referring to it. But like I said, if you get an opportunity, check it out. It's a good, it's a definitely good. And you can watch this with your family. You can watch this with your loved one. You can watch this by yourself. Um, like I said, you will get a little teary eyed if you were a big Luther Vandross fan, because that was the era to be alive. That was the era to be in. Definitely. I mean, this is an era to be in too, but that really was an era, a time to be in. And I just wanted to say, I hope you enjoy it. And if you do, or if you don't, come back and let me know how you enjoyed it. Your take on the documentary, and let me know if you think that they did a good job with it. Okay. Thanks and for watching, and subscribe to my channel and hit that like button so you can be up to date with content as I drop it. If you have any special announcements coming up, special occasions like birthdays, anniversaries, any special occasions, or you just want to drop me a line and say how your day's going, send me an email. You can do so. I will leave my email in the description below, but I also want to give it to you verbally. It's smalltalkwithbadams@gmail.com. That's all one word, smalltalkwithbadams@gmail.com. Send me an email and I'll incorporate it into my next video. Come on, Adams family. Let's continue to grow this channel together.